Well, for more on the packaging and other waste caused by China's booming e-commerce sector, we're joined now by Venkatesh Shankar, live from Texas. He is the Coleman Chair Professor of Marketing at Macy's Business School at Texas A&M University. Hi there, Venki. How are you?
Hi, Susan. Thank you for having me.
Tell us, what kind of possible solution can you suggest to this massive packaging waste that's brought on by e-commerce?
I would suggest a solution along the lines of 4 R's. First R is reduce. So all the stakeholders, starting from the consumers to the packaging companies, to the logistics companies, to the e-commerce platform providers, they may have to reduce the use of plastics and other harmful materials in their packaging. And the second R is reuse. Wherever possible, they should try to reuse all the materials. For example, there should be incentives for consumers to reuse the packages or cartons that they get. And that would mean all the sellers and the platform providers have to price them differently or give them incentives and bonuses. That could be one way to reuse that. The third R is recycle wherever possible. The startling problem with a lot of consumers, both in China and the US, is that many of them are not aware of what materials are recyclable and how to recycle them. And only 7% in the US consumers are recycling it. In China, it's about 10%. So there should be a lot of awareness and move to market the idea of recycling wherever possible. And then the fourth one is responsibly dispose. So that means telling the consumers to find ways to dispose of all the plastic forms and styrofoams that we heard about just a minute ago. And these 4 can be achieved if there is an alignment of incentives among all the stakeholders, including authorities, regulatory bodies, and the networks and collaborations that the companies are creating. So these are some of the ways to look and approach the problem. Susan, we have to think out of the box here, literally, so to speak, for ideas, because the conventional method of expecting the consumers to make changes is not going to be enough.
I was going to ask you, you made a very good point. Should the right to sell on Singles Day actually be tied into a company's sustainability commitment? And are there any rules at all in place surrounding this?
That's a very good idea. I'm not sure if you can completely tie the right to sell to sustainability commitment, but the best way to approach this would be incentives. If you could give the sellers and the platform companies, the retailers like Alibaba, JD.com, Walmart, Amazon, all of them are the biggest players, massive incentives for them to recycle and make this giant sales events a worthwhile exercise for everybody. And they, in turn, would give incentives to consumers. For example, you could create a fund for consumers that they pay up front, because nowadays everybody gets free shipping, and it's almost a business necessity for a lot of retailers to embark on that or give that offer. And because of that, consumers are expecting that, but also make them pay a fund. And whenever they recycle and go through some reuse, let them get some money off. So that way they feel like they are getting something back. So my suggestion would be to create this in the form of incentives rather than a mandate, which I'm not sure how they will be able to tie it directly to the sales.
Is there any way to measure the economic impact versus the impact we are seeing on our environment?
That's a great question. I wish people could create a metric or a system by which they can measure. But some of the ways to do some estimates is basically look at how many of these packages are actually the right size packages. For example, many of them are oversized packages. That means more filler materials and foam materials that could be avoided. Then they could have an estimate of how much of the right materials are being put in there. For example, you could replace a lot of these plastics and foams today by newer materials such as mycelium, which is a mushroom-based derivative. We could have bamboo cushioning. Dell is already using bamboo cushioning in some of its packaging. We could also incorporate other materials that are, like wheat straw. These are the things that in which you can make some estimates of how much is going to be impacted economically. You also have to look at the logistics part of it, the transportation, the power consumption, all the energies, because if you ship more and more boxes, there'll be more transportation. And also give incentives to consumers, for example, to order together. For example, in Thanksgiving, just because of free shipping, people order one, and then they say, I forgot another, and then they order one. How about giving incentive? If you order them together, you'll get a discount. So that makes consumers think before they order multiple boxes. So there are ways to measure this, and you can get an overall impact on the economy, but the way to track it and monitor is going to be tricky. That would involve the participation of all the players and stakeholders involved.
Sounds like a lot of great business opportunities here in e-commerce already. Well, thank you so much, Venkatesh Shankar. Great to see you there live in Texas.